Hey everybody. Apologize for the mix, the mix in the making. But I wanted to talk to you guys today about some issues that I know that can, you know, happen whether you had kids for a long time. Sorry, I'm pretty parched right now. Stay up. Get you some tea, get you some water, get you something, okay? Because this is more of we're gonna talk like girlfriends, like we're on FaceTime, you know what I mean? And I'm here to just have a conversation. My face is not beat. We're looking a hot mess. Hair's tied, but I needed to get some work today before I started recording videos. And I've only recorded one video, and I have 9 more videos to go. So, with all the excuses. I know, especially for my new moms or my new parents, it can be really, really tough. Not only becoming a new parent, but dealing with other people's opinions. And this is why, wait, one time, real quick. This is why I wanted to make this video, because I've been through it. Trust and believe I have been through it. Susan, come on, hello. No. Yeah. Get you a little closer. So, I'm going to talk about a situation that happened with me. And I am not putting this out there to try and be controversial or to try and be cute about it or whatever. Like, this isn't for the clicks or whatever. This is so that way you can get an example of what can happen or what has happened or whatever. So that way, hopefully, it'll help you not feel alone, right? So, I'm not going to give out names, or not real names. We'll just say the particular person that I dealt with is named Amanda. Nope, bad name. Let's say the particular person that I dealt with was Amy. I don't have any Amy's in my life as of recently, so let's go with Amy. Okay. Now, Amy is not my cousin. Okay. But Amy is a cousin. Now, Amy is younger than I am and has had kids. Now, if you know me, I had my first at 21. Not only that, but I have been helping raise my sister since the age of 9. So you're like, oh, then you probably know a lot about kids, right? And child rearing. Not only that, but when I was in the church, I was helping a lot with children's ministries. I ran my own little children, not the whole ministry, but like when you have like a Bible group, you have parents that are wanting care for the kids. That's who they came to care of youth, not youth leaders, worship leaders, children's. So I've dealt with, certain different upbringings and so I've dealt with all kinds of kids, from spoiled brats to total angels. Mind you, the worship leaders' kids was total angels. I don't know about anybody else's experience, but they were angels. They were amazing kids. I've dealt with children that have not been amazing, but with my care, they turned out amazing. Now, I'm not saying I'm like the perfect person that was taking care of kids at the time. But I was, it's kids taking care of kids. What do you expect? You know what I mean? Anyways, so not only that, but in high school and in college, I took some early childhood development courses, right? I was homeschooled. So in the particular homeschool that I was in, I was able to take early childhood development classes because I wanted to either be like a teacher, a caretaker, or something to do with kids. I love children. Not so much anymore. I love my kids, but at the time, it was something I was very passionate about because That's all I knew. That's all I knew how to do. You know what I'm saying? So this wasn't a secret. A lot of people knew this about me. And I made sure that it was very well known for people who didn't, that this was my background with children. So not only that, but like I said, I had my daughter, which she was 9 years before my son. So I was very, very well aware of how to rear a child. Very well, very, very well equipped on what I was doing. And I would constantly have one family member in particular, Amy, constantly judge. Now, I'm not saying this to shame anybody. If somehow Amy finds out I'm talking about, I'm not saying this to shame you. Like, that's not the point. The point is to help other mothers or help other parents relate. That's the whole point of this, right? So it was very difficult getting unwanted criticism from somebody who knew less than I did about child rearing. Now, my son, who you've now found out as autistic, is having issues talking. Now, before I get into the nitty gritty of all of that, I'm going to set the scene for you. We just moved to Cat City, and if you don't know where Cat City is, Cathedral, that is by Palm Springs. I worked in Palm Springs, but I lived in Cat. It was like a 5-minute drive, really. And we moved there because my dad was being his abusive self and just made it very difficult to live with them. Obviously, this is right after the pandemic. We moved right before the pandemic, the whole pandemic situation where they're telling you you can stay in your apartments, they can't kick you out. I'm the type of person that I want to get ahead of things. And so, like, I'm not even joking. Like, I think within a week before or something like that, that's when they were like, oh, yeah, they can't kick you out because you can't pay rent. And I was like, oh, great. So I'm dealing with a lot already, right? So I think I was 3 months pregnant, we had went down there for a baby shower. And obviously it was really important for me to celebrate the birth of my child with his family. And as it should be, right? And when I was there, both grandma and grandpa were like adamantly trying to get us to move down there. They offered to help babysit while, we worked and whatever. And it wasn't something I was rushing into. It was definitely something that was in the back of my mind. And then right as we were looking at our options to move, I wasn't ready to move down there. And, grandpa had had some health issues or whatever. Well, anyways, eventually we ended up needing to move, and we were, asking grandma, like, hey, is this a possibility? Because this is getting real abusive around here. Of course, they welcomed us with open arms. And the day that we were moving, and this is really hard, so grandpa goes into the hospital, right? We made sure that we tested negative for COVID before we went over there, obviously. That was not something I played with. That was not something we were going to play with, especially with grandpa's health. And I'm a very OCD person. And at the time, I was really having a hard time with my OCD, with everything going on. I'm talking about, I was a personal shopper. And so, you see those .com people rushing around trying to pick up stuff. That's what I did at the time. And I would take hand sanitizer. I would bathe my stuff in hand sanitizer. I would get in fights with coworkers who felt the need that it was appropriate to party or to go to family events as the pandemic is going on. So yeah, no, it was on and popping. So we moved down there. We do everything that we possibly, know to or whatever. Anyways, so we're living there. And Ash starts showing more and more signs of autism, but we don't know We suspected, but we don't know. We did get a doctor's appointment. And let me tell you, we went through hell getting a doctor's appointment alone. It took us about a year just to get us into a doctor's appointment, okay? He wasn't really talking, which we were struggling with. He was making a lot of noises, which is a very obvious sign. Now, something that we had also brought up when we did talk to the doctor was, hey, I was also not really verbal until the age of 3, until I was like basically forced to be verbal. So that's something that we can also like look at, but we had suspicions that he might be autistic. The doctor said, don't worry about it. So we were basically gaslit because he was showing all the signs of being autistic. But as much as I had learned, autism wasn't that big of a thing when I was getting educated on early childhood development. So I didn't know that much about autism, but what I did know is that my son was showing strong signs of autism. So I tried to fight and advocate for him, but they were just telling us not to worry about it. And we did have family members that brought up, and I was totally open and fine with them because they were worried about offending me. And I was, I don't know, I'm not offended. As you should bring that up. If you are concerned about my son, I would want you to bring something like that up, right? And I'm just giving you kind of a platform to see where I'm coming from, and that I'm not somebody who's like quick to be offended or anything of the sort, right? I don't know. You should be. If you see something, some signs of my son, I wish you would bring it up so that way I can bring that up with the doctor. But we did already bring that up with the doctor. They said it was fine for right now, and not to be concerned with it. And he could just be a late bloomer. But that wasn't the issue. The issue is that Amy brought up, that they all had tongue tying. Tongue tie is basically, it shortens the length of the tongue. So your tongue is still attached to the bottom of your, like, whatever, like, not to the bottom, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't go la 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 like that, because it's still, like, really, really attached. So you'd have to get snipped, right? Which, for people who speak Spanish, it can make it really hard to speak Spanish because you have to roll your tongue. You have to roll your R's and stuff like that, right? So it makes it really difficult. And she had brought up that with her son, that they had gotten it done and that her son started talking or had an easier talking or whatever was going on. And I said, okay, that's great for you. I'm choosing not to do that, right? I already chose that a long time ago when we had issues with feeding him. He wasn't taking, I tried to breastfeed him. He wasn't taking to it. And he just didn't like my milk. And then because of the lactation consultant not helping me the way that I wish she would have, I couldn't even pump either at that point. I was just done with it. It was so frustrating. It just became difficult for me. I don't feel like she took what I was going through into consideration. And she was just in the mindset of, I know better, I'm going to teach you what I know type of stuff without considering what I'm dealing with and how to help me instead of just teaching me her way. You know what I mean? Because there's some people that just like, there's only one way to do things, or there's my way, I'm going to only teach you, like, no. So anyways, so every time I would see Amy, she would always bring this up, that I need to do this, that I need to be responsible, and I need to blah, 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 but I need. And I'm just like, okay. And I am being the parent, and I'm telling you that I don't need this to do this to my son. My son's fine. We've taken him to the doctors. He's good. And let me tell you, okay, there was a point where I was like, am I harming my child by not getting this done? Like, I started second guessing myself because it got so ingrained in my head. Nobody else was saying it. It was just her, right? And so it got so ingrained in my head that I felt like maybe I was doing a disservice to my son. Let me tell you, my son is 6 years old now, and I'm so glad that I did not do that to him. I'm 110% glad that I stood on business and I chose not to do that, because it would not have helped or done anything for my autistic son. He's autistic. It has nothing to do with his tongue tie. Okay? And I would like to report he has no problem speaking. Not a word. No. He has the same struggle that any other child has. He doesn't have, his tongue tie does not enable him whatsoever. So I am so glad that I didn't get it done. Now, if I felt at any point that he really needed to get it done, I would have gotten it done. But I don't. He did it. Okay. Like, and this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about is that you'll have people who will feed into whatever stuff and they'll be like, well, I needed it for my kids, so you need it too. And they'll keep on pestering. It's one thing to give advice. It's a whole other thing to just be bombarding. And that at this point, it's bullying. You're bullying somebody, that's not cute. And so if this happens to you, just stand on business. Just be like, no. I'm the advocate for my child, right? There was another situation with my firstborn that the whole vaccines thing was brought up. Now, I will tell you, I was thoroughly brainwashed by my dad on information that just was incorrect about vaccinations. Now, whether you choose to vaccinate your child or not is your business. I'm just telling you this from my perspective. That is completely your business. You choose what you want to do with your child, right? I'm just telling from my perspective, this is what happened. The father's side of the family, because my oldest is not biologically, they do not have the same dad. My son and my daughter. So my daughter's father's side of the family were asking why. Now, mind you, I had already sat down with dad and told him these are the reasons why I want XYZ. If you want to talk about, like, we need to talk about this now. He was like, whatever you want to do is what we're going to do. And I'm like, no, I want you to have an input. That later bit me in the butt, like I predicted it was going to, but it was something they had strongly advocated for. I took that opinion and I did some research and I did get her vaccinated. That situation was not bullying. It was not them pushing their will on me. It was them saying, how about you educate yourself on the matter? And they didn't say that verbatim. Let me point that out. But their way of doing it was very gentle and saying, let's look at this again. And I'm grateful that they advocated. I wish that this was conversations that we had sooner, but it was never too late because she did get vaccinated. And I was happy that she did. And that's something that I would never feel the need to take back or whatever, right? So the reason I bring that up is because there are times where there is advice that you're going to want to relook into. And there is sometimes where you're going to just have to stand on business on your decision and be like, I know what's best for my child, right? Do your research. Do whatever you need to do to feel 110% confident in the decisions that you are making for your child. Do not feel like you have to do something because somebody else is telling you. Now, if they have great advice, I would highly suggest just look into it. If anything happens, just be like, look, I looked into it. It's not for us, right? You're going to have plenty of decisions that you have to figure out. If your child has tongue tie, whether it's going to be good for you and your child to do that. Because if you choose to breastfeed, that might be something that you want to get done. If you are having a son, you have to decide whether you want to get the son circumcised or not. Honestly, our doctors never even brought it to us. And I think by the time it was too late is when we had the discussion, like, oh, wait, are we going to do this or what? But, vaccinations, that's a decision that you and your family have to make for you guys. Again, I'm not judging one way or another. I have my strong opinions on the situation, but that's what you do with your child is not my business. Neither is it Sally's business, neither is it Tom's business, okay? That is your child at the end of the day. I want to make sure that everybody that comes here on my channel understands that this is a judgment-free zone. We are not arguing in the comments about what is better and what is not better and yada, yada, yada. Okay? That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're fostering a community where new parents can come and they can say things and they can ask questions judgment-free. That is my whole point of this channel. I want you to be able to come here. We're all judgment free, okay? You have PCOS, you have whatever you have going on. It is accepted here. Well, there's a few extremes we're not going to accept. But this is a loving and peacekeeping community. I want nothing but light and love. So, if you are in a situation where you feel like you are making a decision or you're at a crossroads of a decision, you feel like you're being judged, feel free to comment down below. Or if you've already been in that situation where you felt like you were being judged for a decision that you made, and whatnot, leave a comment down below how you handled it. I would love to hear from anybody who's been in that situation, because it isn't easy. It's hard. And especially when you have family members that are constantly pestering you about decisions that you're making for your child while you're advocating for your child, while you know you're doing the best for your child. And people are like, I don't think that's the best for your child. And you're like, because I can tell you right now, every decision that I've made that is for my child specifically, I've obviously made mistakes, right? I'm not going to act like I'm perfect. But as far as children decisions for my children, I don't regret any of the decisions that I've made. You know, I've made a lot of great decisions. I've done a lot of things that I know is right for my child. So I don't have a single regret as far as that's concerned. So feel free to comment down below. I'm going to plug all the things now, so that way you're aware. We have an Instagram. So on Instagram, I have 3 different Instagrams. I have my personal one, which is Ms.MomNerd. I have the YouTube one, which is MsMomNerd YT. Then we have Pretty Grim Podcast. Also, if you guys don't know, I have a podcast. It's called Pretty Grim Podcast. You can find me on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, which I was really excited about making sure we got on iHeartRadio. That meant a lot for me. The first episode should air February 7th. There's going to be a lot of rough, bumpy roads, but now if you're... Bless you, my dog. Sneezing. Bless you again. Bless you a third time. If you like the Oogie Spooky Talks, go find me there. If you do not like Oogie Spooky Talks, don't worry about it. Also, we have a gaming channel, MsMomNerd Gaming. If you are into gaming content, I'm just throwing stuff there. It's going to be a hobby channel. So if you want there, we're going to be there. TikTok is MsMomNerd1 and Pretty Girl Podcast. I think that's all the things. I need to get better at learning how to plug. But anyways, I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that it brings you love and light, and I hope that you have an amazing day, because that's all I really want for you. Until next time, bye. I'm wide awake. Queen. Yeah. Her. You walk in the room and the vibe shifts. Girls tremble with the wind to the girl. They dream sitting on your pretty little seats. We don't try hard, we just breathe and do it cheap. People look at you, reading. I get the body quick. Step, I do the same. Yeah, they don't know, be still, they say much of me. Jump that. Another in the area that buds and you shine, haven't seen it. Really in the big old spirit. Nothing ends, everybody can't even.